am not failed in real life now, but I was for a very long time, due to several factors. I'm left-handed, another poster mentioned this as well. Our brains tend to work a little bit differently from the norm. We can be extraordinarily gifted, but people don't easily relate to us because we're just a little bit different. I have bipolar disorder. Mental health issues, particularly bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, plague a great number of very intelligent people. With respect to bipolar disorder specifically, I can't say much about schizophrenia because I don't consider myself knowledgeable enough to discuss it. Manic episodes can give us advantages: temporary increase in overall IQ, incredible determination, increased creativity, ability to connect dots more easily, but it has a downside as well. It can make us reckless, it can make us obsess about things, we can get so completely caught up in what's going on in our minds that we fail to perceive the world as it actually is. It can even cause hallucinations when it gets real bad. And then there's the flip side of the bipolar coin to consider: depressed episodes, and even that's an oversimplification, because bipolar is much more complex than that, giving rise to multiple combinations of mixed episodes, where we're manic in some ways and depressed in other ways simultaneously. Depression kills our motivation. It deprives us of joy, it leads us to feel as if nothing in life is worth the effort, it makes us indifferent even to our own fates. In the past, before I finally learned how to manage the illness and overcome most of its disadvantages, there were times when depression would keep me in bed for as much as 2 hours even though I needed desperately to go to the bathroom. I couldn't muster enough motivation to do something as simple as getting out of bed and going to pee. And if I couldn't do that, do you think I could make it to class? Certainly not. I even missed final exams that I could have aced. But when you're suffering from depression, nothing matters at all. Everything feels pointless. In my first semester of college I managed 16 semester hours and ended up with a 3.812 GPA, and I made the National Dean's List. 2 years later, my GPA had dropped below 2.0. Just a slow and steady decline due to a depression, and this was before my diagnosis, so I really had no idea that there was anything wrong with me. That old saying about, "It's not what you know, but who you know," is actually very true. I had a disadvantage here as well because I grew up in a military family. My parents changed residences frequently. I can't consider any city-town as my hometown, because I never had one. I attended 4 different high schools because we moved around so much. The high school that I graduated from I only attended for my final semester of senior year, and I knew absolutely nobody in my graduating class. At one point in my life, I worked as a waiter in a prestigious cocktail lounge that often hosted special parties and other functions. One night, I went to work during one of these functions and I found out it was my own 10-year high school reunion. I never got invited. Nobody knew who I was just a waiter. I didn't get the opportunity to grow up knowing a lot of people because I always had to leave friends behind when we moved on. I couldn't form lasting connections that could have come in handy for me when looking for work. I spent too much time, in adulthood, in the wrong city. After I finished my time in the Navy, I moved to New Orleans, which is an awful place to be if you need to find a decent job, even if you do know people, and I didn't. For some reason I still struggle to completely understand, many people in America resent the existence of incredibly intelligent people. I think it just has something to do with our competitive culture. People don't feel like they can compete with us, so they're less likely to hand us a job or a career because they fear that we can oust them from their own jobs. Mediocrity flourishes because it's the norm. And people who aren't particularly bright fear the intelligent and attempt to keep us down because they see us as a threat. Most of us aren't actually a threat to them, but try telling them that. In my observation, America has an invisible caste system. Regardless of your intelligence and your talents, most people these days end up stuck at the same social and economic level as their parents. We stay where we are born. Nobody with the ability to give us a break is willing to do so. Of all the things I've mentioned, this one has been the most difficult for me to overcome, yes, even worse than the bipolar disorder. I know plenty of very intelligent people that haven't amounted to anything simply because their parents and/or grandparents didn't have the resources to help them out, and, with rare exceptions, the days of the self-made man are long gone. I'm no longer a failure in real life, but I was up until I hit the age of 35. How did I finally overcome it and carve out a decent life for myself? I left New Orleans behind me when Hurricane Katrina took away my house and just about everything else I had. I no longer owned viable real estate that could tie me to the city, so I was free to search for work nationwide. I was suddenly able to move wherever the work was because I didn't have much left to move. Hurricane Katrina was a tragedy, but in some way, it was a blessing to me. It gave me the freedom I needed to succeed by taking away everything that I was clinging to that held me back. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Finally knowing for certain that I had the illness gave me the power to work on controlling it, instead of allowing it to control me. I studied, likely in a manic fashion, the illness and learned as much as I could. I developed structure and routines and lifestyle changes that helped me to control the illness, insisting on getting enough aerobic exercise, making sure I got enough sleep, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day regardless of what I did or did not need to do, and other things. I'm a veteran. That, more than anything, helped me to overcome the aforementioned invisible caste system we have. I just got lucky, plain and simple. I still know plenty of incredibly intelligent individuals who have failed to succeed. Unfortunately, my own success is only enough for me to help myself and my family. I don't have the resources to help anyone else, even though they genuinely are worthy of a break. I would like to think that things could be better in the future for such people, but my instinct tells me that isn't going to happen anytime soon, if ever.